In the last days, as the age drew to its close, the world grew restless. Jesus had warned his disciples on the Mount of Olives. Many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. False messiahs rose, performing signs and wonders to deceive even the elect if possible. Love grew cold as lawlessness increased. Persecution fell upon those who followed the true Christ, believers delivered up to tribulation, hated by all nations for his name's sake. Yet the gospel of the kingdom was proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end came. A great falling away occurred. The restrainer was taken out of the way, and the man of lawlessness, the son of destruction, was revealed. He opposed and exalted himself above every so-called God, taking his seat in the temple of God and proclaiming himself to be God. Empowered by Satan, he came with all power and false signs and wonders, deceiving those who refused to love the truth. This was the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place. Those in Judea fled to the mountains. Woe to those with child or nursing infants in those days, for there would be great tribulation, such as had not been from the beginning of the world until then, nor ever would be again. If those days had not been cut short, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, they would be shortened. The 4 horsemen of judgment rode forth. The white horse brought conquest and deception. The red horse took peace from the earth so that people would slay one another. The black horse brought famine, with scales in hand and a voice declaring a day's wages for a loaf of bread. The pale horse, named Death, followed with Hades close behind, given authority over 1/4 of the earth to kill with sword, famine, pestilence, and wild beasts. Seals were opened in heaven. Martyrs cried out from under the altar for justice. Cosmic signs appeared. The sun became black as sackcloth, the moon like blood, stars fell to earth, and the sky vanished like a scroll. Kings, great ones, generals, the rich and powerful, and every slave and free person hid in caves, calling to the mountains and rocks to fall on them and hide them from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath had come, and who could stand? Trumpets sounded, hail and fire mixed with blood rained down. A great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. A star named Wormwood fell, poisoning the waters. Locusts like horses prepared for battle emerged from the abyss, tormenting those without the seal of God. Armies numbering twice 10,000 times. 10,000 crossed the Euphrates, bringing death to 1/3 of mankind. Bowls of God's wrath were poured out. Sores broke out on those who bore the mark of the beast. The sea turned to blood like that of a corpse. Rivers and springs became blood. The sun scorched people with fierce heat. Darkness covered the beast's kingdom. The Euphrates dried up, preparing the way for the kings from the east. The final bowl brought a great earthquake unlike any before. Every island fled, mountains were not found, and huge hailstones fell from heaven on people who cursed God for the plague. The kings of the whole world gathered at the place called Armageddon for the battle of the great day of God. The almighty nations assembled against Jerusalem. The city was taken, houses plundered, women ravished, and half the city went into exile. But then the Lord went forth and fought against those nations, as when he fights in the day of battle. His feet stood on the Mount of Olives, which split in 2 from east to west, forming a great valley. The Lord came with all his holy ones. Heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. The one seated on it was called Faithful and True. He judged and made war in righteousness. His eyes were like a flame of fire, and on his head were many diadems. He was clothed in a robe dipped in blood, and his name was called the Word of God. The armies of heaven followed him on white horses. From his mouth came a sharp sword to strike down the nations. He ruled them with a rod of iron, and tread the winepress of the fury of the wrath of God. The Almighty on his robe and thigh was written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. The beast and the kings of the earth with their armies gathered to make war against him, who sat on the horse and against his army. But the beast was captured, and with him the false prophet who performed signs by which he deceived those who received the mark of the beast. Both were thrown alive into the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. The rest was slain by the sword from the mouth of him who sat on the horse, and all